everybody. It's Ellen Lewis from Crazy for You, and this is on the this is our Noro Summer Knit-Along check-in. We're doing the ELAN sweater by Shellie Anderson in Noro Asaginu. So it's a beautiful design. Let me show you a picture real quick. So here's a picture. It's just a beautiful swingy summer garment. Very little shaping, easy to do. It's meant to fit very far away from your body, and that is going to keep you nice and cool. And the other thing that's going to keep you cool is the beautiful yarn that we're using, which is Noro Asaginu, which is a linen and paper blend, and it is absolutely lovely. And there is a link in the description where you can order the pattern from Shellie Anderson and where you can order the Asaginu from Crazy for You if you like. So it's not too late to start. If you are just catching this, it is not too late to start. The very first episode you will find in the same playlist, and we actually have an interview with Shellie Anderson, and she talks about the design and everything. So it's super wonderful and worth your while to watch that. So, hi, Ellen. Hi, Rita. Nice to see you guys. Where are you on your knit along? Tell me how it's going for you, and I will share how it has been going for me. Hi, Carolyn. Nice to see you. So I, after last week, I cast on and I was working away just swimmingly when I realized that as I joined it in the round, I had twisted it. No, I'm not kidding. And honestly, what a rookie mistake that was for me. Couple things I learned from that. One, you're never too good to make a mistake. You should always be careful. Knitting in the round has its own set of challenges. You know, knitting things in pieces and seaming them, that's fraught with its own issues with seaming and all the other stuff. Knitting in the round has its own set of challenges, and getting it joined and not twisted is one of them. And, you know, I didn't have it twisted when I started, but even after that first round, it's still simple enough to turn that needle and get it twisted. So rip. I ripped out an inch or so of knitting. It was very sad and very upsetting, you know, but that's how it is. So what I decided to do was an old trick that we have for joining in the round, which is to work a few rows not joined so that you have some fabric that is not in the round, and you can see it better when you do go to join it in the round. So that's what I decided to do. I cast on and I started working a few rows not in the round. And I thought, well, this is good. I'm going to have to join this anyway. So what I decided to do was to work the whole thing in one piece, but not in the round. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to turn on my camera here. All right, let's see how everybody's doing. Ellen just did her first increase row. Woohoo, rock on. Oh, Rita, she's 10 inches in. Oh, of course she is because she's Rita. Hi, Evelyn, nice to see you. All right, so let me show you what I got here. I'm going to put you. Okay, so this is what I mean by all in one piece, but not in the round. I have cast on all the stitches. Let me bring this up so you can see it. I have cast on all the stitches, and I just didn't join it in the round. So I have the front. This is my side seam, which is not a seam, but my side where I'll be doing my increase here and here. It's marked. And then I have my back. It's just not joined in the round. And I'm okay with that, okay? Personally, I find it much easier for me and less boring for me to knit back and forth. I like the alternation of stockinette, the knit one row, purl one row. That to me makes me happy. What I did think about, and this is just what I'm going to tell you so that you can sort of think about it too, is knowing that I was going to seam one side, meant that I was going to have a very definite side seam, and everything that goes with that. It's going to be noticeable, it's going to have a different kind of feel. It's going to fold at that point. And I thought, all right, I want something on the other side that's going to kind of match that. So what I did was this center stitch on the other side. Well, I have an even number of stitches, so I had to add one stitch to give me a center side stitch. I am slipping that stitch purlwise with yarn and back every knit row. So what that does, and we talked about this a little bit in Club Crazy for You, what that does is, because when you slip that stitch with the yarn and back, the stitch that you worked and the stitch after the slip stitch are closer together, because the stitch that you slipped is not worked. So there's a strand of yarn that goes from the stitch before the slipped stitch to the slipped stitch to the stitch after the slip stitch, and it pulls the fabric together in there. So it causes the fabric to fold in on itself at that point where the slip stitch is. So that's something you can use if you want on all of your garments that are knit in the round, to give yourself a little bit of a side seam. It does not provide the stability that a side seam, an actual sewn seam, does, but it does give you that little bit of a fold, which defines your sides a little better. So let me know what you think about that, whether that is something that you already knew or if that's new to you, because I think it's a very, very cool thing. And let me show you what it looks like. All right, let's see. Ellen likes knitting in the round. Well, good. Lots of people like knitting in the round, and I think that's amazing, and that's fabulous. So you should do what makes you happy. Okay, so here is my slipped stitch. So I have this column of slipped stitches right here. You can see that they're a tiny bit larger than the other stitches. And this just folds a little bit right there where that slipped stitch column is. So I don't think it's enough that it's like super noticeable. It just makes me happy to do it that way. All right. Okay, the other thing we wanted to talk about, and Ellen just brought this up, is the increases that you're going to be making. So when Shellie was on last week, she said, and I firmly agree with her, that it doesn't matter what kind of increases that you make, okay? These increases are not ever going to be viewed at the same time. The fabric is it's a little uneven because the yarn is stiff and it's a little bit open. The increases are just not going to be, it's not going to be noticeable, the kind of increase that you do. I think Rita is doing a knit front and back, totally fine. I think the pattern calls for a make one, totally fine. Doesn't matter if you do make one right, make one left. They're not lining up enough that it's going to make a difference for you. They're not going to be visible enough. The only thing with a make one is that you want to make sure you are working it to twist it so it doesn't leave a little hole. Now, if you want to do a make one such that it does leave a little hole and you want to use that as a decorative accent, like a yarn over increase, that is totally fine too. It's entirely up to you. It's conventional to do a make one to work it to twist so that it closes that hole. That means that if you're putting your left needle under the strand from back to front, you're going to work into the front of that stitch. If you're putting your left needle under the strand of yarn from front to back, you're going to work into the back of that stitch. So that's how you work a make one so that it doesn't leave a little hole. There's also knit front and back, which is totally fine. There is knit front, slip back, also totally fine. So whatever works for you is completely good. So let's see. Yeah, so I think that this particular garment is going to be absolutely wonderful, and I can't wait to wear it. But it's slow going. I'm on a size 6 needle, and I've got 320 some plus, maybe up to 330 now stitches on my needle. So that's a lot. Every row takes a considerable amount of time, doesn't it? So were there any questions? Was there anything that you guys were interested in or that we needed to chat about on this? Happy to answer any questions that you might have. So anyway, it's a fun project. If you are thinking about it, it's not too late to join the Knitalong. I would advise that you go ahead and get the yarn and swatch, get one ball of it and swatch it and get comfortable working with the yarn because it's a different experience. If you've never worked with linen before, it's a different experience than working even with cotton, which is a similar plant-based fiber. Linen is much, much stiffer. So you really kind of want to get a feel for the yarn and you want to swatch it and you want to block it. I did a whole video on reviewing the Noro Asaginu, and I did a hard steam right on camera to show you, how when you're finishing your fabric, you steam that real hard and it's going to crush the stitches down in a good way and really soften them. So what you're feeling when you knit it or after you've knit it is not what you're going to have when you actually finish your garment. It's going to be so much nicer. Let's see. I was concerned whether it would drape, but I can see that it's going to do that. Definitely feels better since I started steaming after knitting a few inches. Yes, Brita brings up a great point, and that is that Shellie Anderson had said to go ahead and block the fabric as you go. And I think if I had done that in my first time, going around, I probably wouldn't have gotten it twisted, but the yarn was all curled up and no excuses. I'm not making excuses. I'm just explaining because there's really no excuses for me on joining that in the round. But what she said was to go ahead, once you have a little bit of fabric on your needles, to go ahead and steam that or block it, wet block it, depending on the needles that you have and what you're comfortable with. I have done a quick little steam on this, and you can see that it has definitely opened up and it's a lot easier to handle. And I think you'll really kind of fall in love with the fabric a little more when you've done that because it does respond so well to being steamed. I know that the ball band says dry clean only, but I would advise you to try it out on your swatch. I did not have any problem when I steamed my swatch and then I washed it. So you do you, as always. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just saying that I found that when I steam blocked my swatch, it was much, much softer and that it stood up perfectly well to a hand wash dry flat. So I think some people are maybe a little shy of the Asaginu because that label says to dry clean, but I think that you can be a careful steward of your fabric with hand washing and steaming the Asaginu, so not to worry. All right. Well, good. Eveline, have you started yours? Carolyn, are you interested? Is this something that you're going to be doing? It is a super fun project. Like I said, some projects are really their process knits. The yarn is so silky soft and stretchy and smooshy, and you just love to knit with it. And it wouldn't matter what you were knitting, and if you had to rip it out and re-knit it, it wouldn't matter because you're enjoying it. It's so pleasurable. This yarn is much more a product knit. I won't say that I hate knitting. I don't mind knitting it, but it's not one that I think, I can't wait to sit down and knit that. Because it is a little stiff. The other thing I will tell you is the pattern calls for a German twisted cast on, which is a beautiful cast on, absolutely lovely. I found, again, this is just me, I found that the German twisted cast on with this yarn it was hard on my hand. So when I ripped it out, I did do it the first time. But for some reason, it caused my hand to cramp a little bit. So when I went back, I just did my regular long tail cast on, and I'm perfectly happy with that as well. I do think the German twisted cast on has a beautiful look. I don't know about it being more or less stable or preventing curl or whatnot. But Ginny and Mary love the German twisted cast on, and I typically do. I just didn't love it with this yarn. So that's just another note to self. All right, let's see. Oh, Eveline's done about an inch. Good for you. Let's see. You have to be careful not to wear it in the round. What do you mean? Yes. Oh, that's too funny. Oh, first, yeah, okay. Well, we won't have a problem with the 3-needle bind off. It's super easy, Ellen, and we'll go through that. I think it'll be a while. So we're not going to meet next week. I'm not going to be able to do this, but I think everybody has, enough work to do on this so that we can skip a week. But I will be back, and that will be the Saturday of our retreat. So I'll grab my camera, and we'll do our live from the shop for next time. So not to wear it in the rain. Oh, I think it's going to be fine, Rita. You won't have a problem at all. All right. So good. Thank you for joining me. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Okay. That will be on, is it the 27th? So, yep. And these videos will be here for you to enjoy and watch again and again if you need them. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Happy knitting.